got to read you a passage taken out of my second book, all right? Two brothers sat at a cluttered kitchen table. The house reeked of stale alcohol. Flies hovered over piles of dirty dishes in the sink. As usual, Dad was drunk on the couch. One child was perched in front of the television, while the other son was immersed in his schoolwork. One father, two boys. Same situation, alcoholic father and an absentee mother. God bless her soul, she made her transition years ago. Both boys lived out the same hell on earth with daily verbal, physical abuse, and neglect. Well, Dallas, one brother ran with the fast crowd who helped him find an escape. Like his old man, he found it in drugs and alcohol. This second-generation alcoholic lived from bottle to bottle, barely finding enough odd jobs, earning just enough money to keep his habit going. Meanwhile, the second boy, well, he buried himself in his schoolwork. He worked hard and he won a scholarship to Morehouse before going on to an Ivy League law school. As fate would have it, he became a well-respected lawyer. One day, a newspaper chose to write a profile on the local hero. The reporter asked, "Is it true? Is it true your father was an alcoholic?" "Yes, it's true," he replied. "I had an alcoholic father, and that's why I am where I am today. I decided early on I wasn't going to waste my life like he did." Meanwhile, the other brother, well, he continued his path to self-destruction. Eventually, his employer gave him the ultimatum: either lose your job or enter and complete a rehab program. He chose the latter. A counselor at the rehab clinic listened intently as he described his childhood. With tears rolling down his cheeks, he confessed, "I had an alcoholic father, and that's why I am where I am today. Same home, same father, same circumstances, same conditions. But one child was looking for somebody to blame, and the other was looking for somebody to bless. Come to the edge," he said. They said, "We are afraid." "No, come to the edge," he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. In other words, let others lead your life if you allow them to lead it. You see, there are 50 million different choices that we can make on a daily basis. And many of these choices we do not have to confront. We can turn our back on them. But there are two choices you must answer to as soon as your feet hit the ground in the morning. Number one, you can accept the circumstances as they are. Or number two, you can take the responsibility to change them. Clifton, my brother, thank you very much. As yesterday, I told the back flap story of how I got into this game. And another thing, this is almost like an intimate setting. This is like my senior seminar, man. Man, you got, dealing with millennials, man. I had class yesterday, man. One thing about millennials, what do we know about millennials? Millennials will tell you exactly what's on their mind if you can get them to look up from that cell phone. I said, "Man, Dr. Kimbro, man, don't you ever assign that case? That case was so boring. We don't want to talk about that." I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" Just tell us what we need to know." So the dean's not paying me to tell you what you need to know. Come on, man. Well, let's talk about what we need to know. All right, in 1908, there's a knock on the door of the wealthiest man in the world. Who was that individual? It was Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was 74 years at the time. If you take his wealth at the time and equate it to 2017 numbers, we're talking in excess of $300 billion. Andrew Carnegie had a 64-room mansion overlooking Fifth Avenue in Central Park in New York. The butler goes down, answers the door, and who's on the other side of the door? 24-year-old Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was a college student, even at age 24. But he had a side job working for Bob Taylor magazine. That magazine is no longer in publication. How in the world they got a 1-hour interview with this guy, no one knows. But here comes Napoleon Hill walking into the house, and the first thing going through Napoleon Hill's mind, he didn't get caught up in the bling bling. He didn't get caught up in the excess, all the cars, the Rolls Royces, this mansion. The only thing that Napoleon Hill was concerned about was what type of mindset does this individual possess that would bring all this to bear in reality. So he walks in, and what was scheduled for a 1-hour interview, Carney could sense that Hill was different. And the interview went by so quick, and Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill, young man, I like your style. I like the way you come across. You know, you're really going to make something of yourself. And I'll tell you what, why don't you spend the entire weekend with me? Let's really talk about wealth and achievement and leadership and success. So that 1 hour interview transpired over till Sunday afternoon, and it was time for Napoleon Hill to leave. And then Andrew Carnegie asked him the question of questions. He said, young man, he said, I got a little black book. And in that book, I got the contact information of all the game changers out there. I mean, I got the contact. I can help you get in contact with Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, Charles Goodyear, Alexander Graham Bell, William Wrigley, Chicago Cubs, whatever. And just like you interviewed me over the weekend, would you be inclined, if I can set these interviews up for you, would you be inclined to interview these individuals and take that information, place it in a single volume to benefit not only this generation, but generations to come? And Napoleon Hill didn't know that Andrew Carnegie had a stopwatch behind his back. And he was going to time him to see how long it took him to reach that assessment. And Hill said yes, only took him 11 seconds. And Carnegie says, wait a minute, young man, I didn't finish my question to you. I'm not going to pay you a dime. I'll reimburse you for any expenses, but I'm not going to pay you a dime for this task. Writing this book will be reward enough. And again, Hill said yes. Well, you fast forward the videotape to 1937. That book that he worked on became Law of Success, got this country out of its first depression. But in 1937, he wrote Think and Grow Rich while he was on staff, a speechwriter for, Franklin W. Roosevelt. Well, at the time of his death, and I didn't know it, here you got a nondescript, Dennis Kimbro got his fancy PhD degree from Northwestern University. All he did, working on his doctorate, he studied wealth, he studied poverty among underdeveloped countries. And when I graduated and I was granted that degree, I turned to my wife and I said, Pat, I know my first book. She said, what is it? I don't want to study wealth and poverty, I only want to study wealth. And I don't want to study underdeveloped countries. I just want to study African Americans. And I drew up a list, and I placed 50 names on that list, men and women who I was going to interview, and I did. And that list grew from 50 to 100, from 100 to 150. I quit counting at 150 interviews, and I'm still interviewing people today. Well, Success Magazine caught wind of what I was doing. They asked me to write a series of articles, and I wrote 3 articles. And one of those articles made it to the desk of W. Clement Stone. I just returned home from spending the better part of a day with Black Enterprise, Earl Graves, and I fly back to my home and I see there's a message on my answering machine. I hit the button, and who is it? W. Clement Stone. W. Clement Stone in the 1970s was one of the wealthiest in the world, certainly one of the wealthiest here in the United States, and he was Napoleon Hill's personal manager. Hit the button, young man, we heard about you. When can you come to Chicago? I'd like to meet you. Less than 2 weeks later, me and my wife borrow, hook, script, rob Peter to pay Paul to get the money to go there. She waits in the rent-a-car for 2 hours while I walk into the meeting. I didn't have the slightest idea what W. Clement Stone had in mind, but I got my marching orders from my wife. I was dead broke. I lost 2 cars in the process. Anybody have a car repossessed? I had 2 repossessed. I couldn't begin to tell you. At times, lights, water, electricity was cut off. Second time they cut my water off, they cut my water off on a Friday. Couldn't get it back on until Tuesday. And I looked in my oldest daughter's eyes and I lied to my oldest daughter. She came home from high school. She took a cup, put it on the faucet. Dad, what's happened to the water? And I looked at that child and I lied. I said, oh, they're working on the pipes outside. No, Dad didn't have the money to keep the water on. Why? Because I was inundated with this dream, with this idea. And the marching orders I got from my wife, if he offers you a job, you taking it. So I go in there and he says to me, young man, you're not the first person to go around the country interviewing successful African Americans. I said, I'm not. And he said, no. He said, Napoleon Hill was doing this at the time of his death. I said, you got to be kidding. He said, I got a proposition for you. And I said, what is that? We want you to finish a book. I said, what book? He reached across his credenza, pulled out the last 100 written pages of Napoleon Hill, dropped it on my lap. He said, that book. I said, I'm honored, I'm humbled, but I can't do that. And he said, why not? I said, I'm working on a book of my own. He said, if you got any sense, you'll push your book aside and finish this. Well, Napoleon Hill was working on a black version of his all-time classic, got 100 pages into the manuscript, died of a stroke. He was 87 years old. So what do we need to know? No matter who I interviewed, and I got them all from Tyler Perry to T.D. Jakes, Steve Harvey spoke in my class, Ayanna Van Zant spoke in my class, who else spoke? Tyrese spoke in my class, you name them, I interviewed them. I found 4 common chords. Number one, they dreamed big dreams. They had a dream. They had a vision. Something they were passionate about. People ask me all the time, Dr. Kimbro, what is the difference between the individual who works in corporate America 5 years and gets sick of the job and starts a business and then quits and then goes back, about to lose his shirt, and then he runs back into corporate America, and that individual who works in corporate America quits, starts his business, and then eventually becomes, hits the lodestar, becomes a millionaire, whatever. And I said, simple, burning desire. I found a burning desire in all these individuals. There I am interviewing Damon John. I said, Damon, what was the high water point in your life? He said, when I had to burn the furniture. I said, what do you mean burn the furniture? He said, when I finally got financing from Samsung, I got a Samsung, they loaned him $80,000. And what he did, he hired all these seamstresses. He was living with his mother. His mother was a flight attendant. And all these seamstresses showed up at his mother's house, and he had nowhere to put, their sewing machines and their equipment. I said, so what did you do? He said, I took all the furniture out of my mother's house, put it in the backyard, and set it on fire. See, we got 50 million different desires, all right? That hurricane hit the southeast area and did a little damage to the deck in our house. And I said, Pat, we'll go ahead and get insurance, blah, blah, blah. She said, no, I got a new vision for this. We're going to change this, Did I tell you I'm getting a new stove and we're going to change this ceiling up here? Pump the brakes, baby girl, pump the brakes. We all got 50 million different desires. That's a desire. You might want to see a new outfit, get a new breath. That's a desire. But look, damn it, a burning desire is an inner candle, an inner flame that cannot be extinguished. And though the worst may go before you, the doubters may come, the cynics may come, and the doubters and cynics were there for me. The non-achievers, unbelievers, all the people who will scoff at you, all the people who will ridicule you, all the people that will laugh at you, you will use their doubt, you will use their cynicism to propel you forward. And that's the difference. You got the guy who works in corporate 5 years, gets sick of it, jumps out there and starts a business. After 1 year, no one's using his product, no one is using his service, gets behind on his mortgage, about to lose his car, and he says, before I lose this house and lose that car, blows the dust off his resume and jumps back into corporate America. Then you got another guy who works in corporate America 5 years, gets sick of it, jumps out there and starts that business. After 1 year, no one's using his product, no one is using his service, about to lose his house, about to lose a couple of cars. But before he loses that house and before he loses that car, he doesn't blow the dust off his resume. He says, take the house, take the car. I can't go back in there. Why? What is the difference? One guy is afraid of losing his house and car. The other is afraid of losing his life. I didn't choose to be here and you didn't choose to be here. Baby girl, you were chosen. You were chosen. You were chosen for this time and place. Jesus, where in the world have you been? You had people worried about you. You've been missing. Don't you know we've been looking for you? And what does Jesus say? Moi? Me? You looking for me? Brother, you should have known where I've been. I've been about my Father's. Well, what is your Father's business? Your Father's business is growth. Your Father's business is development. Your Father's business is being better today than you were yesterday. So number one, dream, passion. What Steve Harvey told me, a career is what you're paid for, but a calling is what you're made for. What have you been made to do? Do you even know your area of excellence? Do you? No one in this room is 16. Come on, man, we got miles on us. How come you don't know your area? I need to know why you don't know your area of excellence. When I'm teaching my MBAs and we go through the process of finding your area of excellence, we pour champagne in that room. Why? Because when you find out the number one reason why the Lord blew breath into your lungs, you find the number one reason, you find your area of excellence, the one thing you do better than anybody else. You never have to worry about income and you never have to worry about employment. Why? The marketplace will seek you out. The marketplace will seek you out. And how do you find your area of excellence? Ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what do I love to do? What do I have a passion for? What can I throw my whole heart and soul into? In other words, don't die with your music left in you. Sing your song. What did the rapper, Too Short say? It's been way too long, time for the whole world to say play your song. Every time I walk into the classroom, my students are playing my song. This is what I was born to do. There I am, undergrad, University of Oklahoma. You know what my frat brothers called me? By my junior year, my frat brothers called me the professor. Why always had a book under my arm? Where's Kimbro? Oh, he's in lab. In other words, we call lab the library. I'm always reading. I always wanted to know. Inquisitive nature. One of my mothers say, boy, you ask too many questions. And that's why I can tell you, oh, Dr. Kimbro, your books are great. Yeah, I know my books are great. Why in the world can I say it? Because I didn't do anything but sit in the corner, interview your peak performers, and took notes with both hands. I didn't do anything. I just took good notes. Well, I've been taking good notes over the course of my life. So here it is. Here's what they say. Now, why is that critically important? Because Black America, you are the only group. You are the only group that don't profile your wealth creators. You doubt that? Come to my study. Whole first floor in my house is my study. I got a big flat screen TV. Here's a remote control. Go ahead and click it on. And go to, one of the financial networks, go to Bloomberg, go to MSNBC. You might find an interview, see, Bill Gates and Microsoft being interviewed. You might Warren Buffett being interviewed. Old interview of Steve Jobs, blah, blah. When's the last time you seen one of your wealth creators being profiled? All right, you got 6 black billionaires out there, all right? Can you tell me the 6? Oh, I don't know. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. Black America, how do you get up and look in the mirror in the morning knowing you only got 35,000 black millionaires? You almost got the same number of millionaires that Qatar has. You got about 35,000 millionaires in Qatar. But this is the problem. You got 34 million African Americans in the United States, and you barely have 900,000 people who live in Qatar. What are you doing? So number 1, they dream big dreams. How to find your area of excellence. Number 1, what do you love to do? Number 2, what would you do for free? If no one ever paid you a dime, if no one gave you a financial reward, what would you do for free? Because when you're doing what you love to do and you do it for free, your work is your play. And if your work is your play, you'll never work a day in your life. It is completely symmetrical. I mean, my colleagues hate for me to talk like this, but I'm not, Clifton, I love you, my brother, but I'm not here. I don't hawk books. I don't. As a matter of fact, you take any of my classes at Clark Atlanta, you will never, ever find my books on my syllabus. Now, my students will run to the bookstore and get it, especially this time of year. They're going home for Christmas and blah, blah, blah. I want to get this or blah, blah, blah. Folks will come visit CAU and they'll go to the bookstore and one of the clerks at the bookstore, he teaches here. Is this class? Oh, yeah, he's in class. They'll come to my right in the middle of class. Can you autograph this? I got a flight. Brothers, ain't no book signing, bro. I'm in class. I got class. You see my PowerPoint? I'm in class. I'm in class. But that's what I love to do. And that's what I would do for free. And my wife points out all the time, you really are doing that for free. They said, baby girl, you taken care of. You ain't starving, girl. You ain't hardly starving. And then last but not least, if you can't answer those 2 questions, go to somebody who you respect and admire and ask them, what do you see me as? What do you think I would be good at doing? Again, the day that you find your area of excellence, it is game over. So they dream big dreams. Number 2, they were inner directed versus outer directed. Who do you listen to? Who do you listen to? My books are not about cash. My books are about courage. You see, it takes courage to chase your dream. And this is critically important. It takes courage to find a new set of friends because your personal friends don't empower you. So who do you listen to? Who's in your inner group? These individuals were inner directed versus outer directed. They weren't so quick to believe well-meaning friends and family members who said, you can't do this, you can't do that. They walked to a beat of a different drummer. You are blessed to live in a country that rewards differentiation. What's so different and unique about you? What's so different and unique about your product or service? What is your area of unfair competitive advantage? What is your home field advantage? Do you even know? Number 3, these men and women, they flat out refuse to fail. Now, I'm not saying they didn't fail. Many of them actually failed their way to success. Yesterday I had a session, good session. We were talking about grit, about persistence. And what is persistence? Persistence is the level of belief in yourself. Or as John Johnson of Ebony magazine, I might have been the last individual to interview that brother. I interviewed him twice. We were talking about persistence in the second interview, and he says, you got to realize with persistence, you are the only individual who keeps score. Success is a statistical event. That's all it is. That's all it is. Why am I Dr. Kimbro? Am I Dr. Kimbro because I'm smarter than you? No, I'm Dr. Kimbro because I got more college hours than you have. You get the same number of college hours I have, you'll be Dr. Whoever. Success is a statistical event. That's all it is. So number one, they had a passion. Number two, inner-directed. Number three, they flat out refused to fail. And number four, they were students of the game. They were students. They were students of the game. Yeah, we heard that cliche, readers are leaders. Yeah, well, that is true. What did Steve Jobs say before he made his transition? Don't start a business, build a movement. Build a movement. Steve Jobs gave the 4 reasons why anybody should be in business, and not one deals with the bottom line. He said, number 1, build a movement. He said, number 2, fulfill the dreams of your clients. What are the dreams of my clients? To get out in 4 years or less with minimum student loan debt. That's the dream of my clients. And I'm going to show them how to pull that off. So number 1, don't build a business, build a movement. Number 2, fulfill the dreams of your clients. Number 3, make it easy for people to do business with you. Make it easy for people. What do we know about that? I hope you took, when you were in B school, I hope you took good notes when you're in marketing class, because there are 21 different ways to market or sell a product or service. Number 1 is word of mouth. Number 21 is internet. Number 21 is internet. Number 20 is TV. Number 19 is radio. Number 18, segmented magazines. Number 1 is word of mouth. Number 2 are flyers. Number 4, advertising on a bench at a bus stop. Number 7, advertising on trucks. So how do you reach your customers? Can you even give me the profile, not only of your customer, but your perfect customer? Do you even know? I need the demographics of your customer. I need the age. I need the race. I need the sex of your customer. I need the geographics of your customer. Is your customer located in Dallas? Is your customer located in Houston? Is your customer located in Chicago, New York, Miami, LA, San Francisco? But the critical question, give me the psychographics. Give me what in the world you talking about psychographics. Uncover the real reason why anybody would want to buy from you. The real reason. Give me the backflap story. And then last but not least, Steve Jobs said, number 4, if you can't do the top 3, work on total craft mastery. And what is Jobs talking about when he says total craft mastery? You are working on yourself. Now I got all these seniors who didn't take care of business. They know they're about to cross that stage in May, and they don't have any job offers. And one of them came to my office, Dr. Kimbro, I need a job. I said, baby girl, you already got a job. I do? I said, yeah, work on yourself. Work on yourself. In my PowerPoint, I show a PowerPoint, and on that PowerPoint, I got Jay-Z, I got Antonio Reed, and I got Dr. Dre. And I asked my students, what do these 4 icons, moguls, have in common? Oh, they got record labels and this and that and that, blah, yeah, that, blah, blah, blah. Well, what is the real underlying factor that they have in common? All of them took 6 weeks out of the busy schedule to take executive management class at Harvard. Anybody ever taken an executive management class at Harvard Business School? You take an executive management class at Harvard Business School, 6 weeks, you're there. You don't fly in and fly out. No, that's not the way Harvard rolls. You make a commitment for 6 weeks to be there. Now, a formal education, you're sitting in the classroom taking notes and you get the degree. But an informal education will make you rich. Will make you rich. And how in the world did I see that? Well, and we're going to end it right here, open it up for Q&A. Whatever you want to do, I'm here to serve you. But there's that book, The Wealth Choice. And over a 7-year period, I did nothing but interview, survey, and held focus groups on black millionaires. That's all I did. If you weren't 7 figures and you weren't African American, there was no need for us to talk. I was completely focused on that particular segment and demographic. And when I started, now I know we all read The Millionaire Next Door by Tom Stanley. I know we read that. When Stanley is in his second year of that book, and he was marketing professor at Georgia State, 4 miles from my office at Clark, Atlanta. His second year into the research, the Census Bureau not only told Stanley how many white millionaires in the United States, they gave him zip codes. So Stanley wrote a 247-question survey based on the zip codes supplied by the Census Bureau, attached a dollar bill to it, and stuffed mailboxes. Unbelievable response rate back. So here's your dear old professor. I'm in the second year of my research, and I didn't call up the Census Bureau. No, I drove down to the regional office, and I sat down with 2 social scientists. I told them what I was working on. Forget knowing where black millionaires live. They didn't even know how many black millionaires in the United States. But the Lord spoke to me as he so often does, and less than 2 months later, I had a speaking engagement. Where? Less than a mile from the Census Bureau. And who was the client? The Federal Reserve. And I go in there, and after my presentation, a couple of them knew me. Doc, what are you working on now? And I told them, and I said, I'm at a quandary, I'm at a conundrum. I need to know how many black millionaires out there and where they're located. And they said, man, that's easy. And I said, you got the data? And they gave me the data. I said, there's 2 ways you can go about this. There are 112,000 African-American households with a net worth of $1 million or more, or there are 35,000 single individuals. I said, I'm gonna work on the single individuals. So number 1, I came up with a full-blown survey. I asked these black millionaires 118 questions, and I asked them complete it anonymously. Some of them wrote their name on the survey when they returned it back to me. Some of them attached a business card on that, because I was asking some proprietary information when it came down to the financials. So number 1, full-blown survey. Number 2, I had 6 focus groups around the country. I started off, I said, you know, there was a Black Wall Street in Raleigh-Durham. I said, let me start off in Raleigh-Durham. There were about 45 black millionaires in that room. I had a huge focus group in Washington, D.C. There were no less than 100 black millionaires in that room in Washington, D.C. Bob Johnson, the founder of BET, was in that room. Carla Harris, most powerful black woman on Wall Street, was in that room. Michael and Steve Roberts, the Roberts brothers, they own 12 hotels around the country, they were in that room, so I was in hog heaven. Then I had another focus group. I had 3 focus groups in the Atlanta area. I had 1 in Omaha, and then I had a small one, a little boutique focus group out in Las Vegas with just black females. And ladies, as you know, you're about 18% of black millionaires, and you guys are growing exponentially off the roof. And then last but not least, when I started out, I said, I don't want any athletes. I don't want any actors or actresses. I don't want any entertainers. Now, I've had athletes and entertainers and blah, 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 asked to be a part of it. And I said, no, man, Dr. Kimbro, how was it? I said, I'm after wealth, not income. Big difference. But obviously, when it came time for the 50 to 60 face-on-face interviews, there were some folks I had to include. And like I said, I interviewed Steve Harvey, great time with Tyler Perry. I asked Tyler, I said, Tyler, how in the world did you go from sleeping in your car in New Orleans and sleeping in your car in Atlanta, Georgia, building a $145 million production studio? You know what he told me? Nothing but the grace of God. Spent a day with Kirk Franklin. I said, Kirk, you come from a small town in Texas, man. You didn't make 1 fortune, you made 2. How in the world did you pull this off? You know what he said to me? There's something sweet about that name Jesus. Well, I thought I was in church, man. So you name them, I interviewed, and there is the result. And what can I tell you? What is the bottom line? Wealth is not a function of circumstance. It's not a function of condition, not a function who your mom and daddy are, not a function where you were born, not a function of your contacts, not a function of your education, but it is a function of choice. And it is a function of faith. And it is a function of discipline, forsaking today for tomorrow.
Thank you for watching our Empower Series YouTube video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit the subscribe button below, as well as the little button to be notified the next time we upload our video. Until then, stay connected with us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever your social media flavor is. Inspire the world to thrive. See you soon.